Why do you need to retire early? It is simply the math of time. It shouldn't be how much time is left in your life. It should be how much life is left in your time. This idea was first postulated by the one and only Dion from Dion Talk, where he was talking on a riverbank. And I just love the idea of how much life is in your time. I've never heard anybody put it that way. Dion, tell us the story, tell us what's going on, and tell us frankly how you've tripled your life.
Well, so, I mean, that's the whole idea is a lot of people talk about wanting to live longer, right? And there's YouTube channels on what to eat, how to work out, where to live, all of those things. And I don't teach any of that. I have all the horrible habits because I actually, and it sounds weird, but I don't want to live longer, right? If you live longer, you're adding years when you're old.
Hmm.
And you guys aren't old yet, but old kind of sucks. And the older we get, it isn't going to get better, right? So instead of focusing on increasing those end years, I want to increase what people can do now. And most people haven't actually run through the math on how much time of my life is actually not mine, right? We talk about selling your life 1 hour at a time. We are wage slaves. We get that paycheck drug that kills all of our dreams. And has anybody sat back and thought, what does an average person do? So I broke down, and I didn't want to do the thing we do in videos where we use the word you. We talk about you, and that resonates with people. I wanted to say, here's a real life example of what my life looked like just before retiring. So Matt will be able to do this. What was last year like up until you retired? And what is this year looking like? And I broke it down. I figured we all pretty much sleep somewhere between 6 and 9 hours a day. Most of us commute at least 30 minutes, or we have to get ready for work. And then we have a lunch break where we're at work. You have all of the things that you have to do that aren't living your life. And then I have a lot of responses where people go, well, find a job that's like your life. And I thought, well, if you have to be paid to be there, that's not your passion. That's not your purpose. That's not your calling. Imagine if you had time freedom and then could pick a job, not worrying about the income, and do something, sure. And then maybe that's your life. But if you have to go to work because if you don't work, you don't pay your bills, that's a job. So most people have around 5 hours a day. And that's if you're lucky, right? I think, especially if you're growing a side hustle or you have kids. And the thing, I'm not saying spending time with your kids is a cost, but what are all the things you have to do to prepare to have your kids and to do all the things with your kids? So how much time do you get for yourself? And in those 5 hours, most people are exhausted. So what do? We stare at a screen. We Netflix, we play online video games because we just don't have the energy to go do the things where some people will go and maybe do a trip once a month for rock climbing or kayaking or something, but you can't do it every day because you're just exhausted. Versus if you reach financial freedom and you make work optional, like Matt just did, literally just pulled the plug. What is it now, Matt? 2 months, 2.5?
Yeah, 2 months since I gave notice and 6 weeks since I actually left.
Right. So 6 weeks where now instead of 5 hours a day, you have 15.
Holy cow, do I.
And because you're broken, you threw evictions and court and all this stuff in there to fill that space. But you would kind of thrive on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you have those 15 hours and you're not exhausted. You're not wiped out. If you are spending time with the kids, it is fully cognitive aware time where you're not thinking about, okay, I can do this for an hour or 2 hours, and then I've got to think of this fire I got to put out for work. But you literally tripled your life. And so I use the example of just before I retired, the year since, and I'm hoping more people see that. And there were several people that thought, okay, this is kind of eye-opening. I never looked at it that way, but there were hundreds of people who thought, if you don't work, your life is pointless. I got a lot of those comments. What is the point of life without your work? And this reminds me of Zuber's dad, where Zuber has mentioned, you've mentioned many times when you were a teenager, you were super proud of your dad saying, I'm going to work until I die. Like that's a real mindset out there. And I think most of us, almost all of us, are going to work until we die. But it doesn't have to be for money.
Yeah. When I think of the story, and again, it's the subtlety of time in your life versus life in your time. I think that is so awesome. You've already done the math. You go from 5 to 19 or 13 or whatever the heck it is. And I think that's all awesome. But I think there's kind of three things that when I saw it the first time. One, and this is why you're good at what you do, is we have to get people to believe it's possible. I I don't know what the numbers are. I'm sure you've looked at your comments. I'm gonna guess 60-40 believe it's possible, where a lot of the people that are soft or who have already given up or whatever you want to call it, they're already defeated. They haven't even they can't start. They've already given up, which I think is sad.
Mhm.
Number two, and I actually got this from Coach Carson yesterday when I had this conversation because I think it just warrants such a great discussion. You really have seasons. And that's what I want people on our channels to believe. Your season isn't forever if you do this route. Because again, doing what the three of us have done is not easy. And unfortunately, it takes time, aka a season. Dion, I think you told in your 8-minute video that your season was 12 years. Mine was 15. Matt's was 14 or 15. You know what? I'll pay that price every time. You tell me I have to get into this for 15 years to get 40 to 50 years after to do what I want. And then lastly, to those idiots out there who are talking about your job is your life, when you no longer have to work, you get to pick what you want to do. And I want you to be very clear. This is what I did. Unlike these two fine gentlemen who quit with a plan, I quit in a second notice. And I unfortunately got very depressed for the first time in my life, like very depressed. It wasn't until I found a way to contribute that filled my cup with zero money. Zero. I made like, I think if I look back at my first year of one rental at a time, I made like $1,200, right? Because the book came out at the end of the year and YouTube got monetized at the end of the year. But I'd done over 1,000 videos, like 1,200 videos, not monetized. Trust me when I say, when money is no longer the option, you could chase what you love when you could. And most importantly, this is for all the stupid doomers and crash bros and idiots who preach fear, is you can preach what really works. You can build community. You can do all of these amazing things. But if you're broke and you're a failed mortgage broker, you've got to preach fear because you got to pay the bill somehow. Don't have that concern. Not a concern. So those are my first three thoughts on all of that. Matt, why don't we get you in here for some comments?
Musings from the moron.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, honestly, like, I was one of those guys where I saw the way you did it. I saw the way Dion did it. And so I had examples before me, and it was like, am I going to get depressed like Mike? Am I going to go out in a blaze of glory like Mike? Am I going to leave it cold like Dion did? Am I gonna, what does the other side look like? Am I going to feel, and you guys both, we talked about it was like 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to start to feel this way. And so I'm like, I appreciate you guys so much because I'm constantly like kind of checking in with that. I am so effing broken. It's not even funny. Like it is hilarious. I got to talk to a couple of people I used to work with. Oh, F their life. That is sucks. Like, listen, all right. So we all know I'm the jerk. So you hate your jobs. You just stop. Just stop trying to convince yourself that you love your job and that you stay in there because there's so much purpose. No, you don't. You freaking hate the LinkedIn posts. You hate the social media around your job. You hate having to go to trade shows. You hate having to kiss your boss's ass because he's a moron. Like, you hate that stuff. You hate it. Just be honest. Be honest. Embrace it. Recognize that you need to use it for fuel. Use it for fuel to get in the engine, to push you further, to do the stuff that you got to do. Because I can tell you, I miss my job this much. This much. I don't even care if they paid me double. I wouldn't go back. I didn't understand that when Dion said that. I was just like, Dion, shut up. Stop talking to me. We're in a fight right now. I don't want to hear that stupid stuff. I was like, I will sign the paper for you. So I don't want to hear it. And now it's like, oh my word. If they called me to me tomorrow and said, fix it, do it your way, here's double, I'd be like, go F yourself.
Mm.
I'd be like, not interested at all. What it afforded me was time. And that
Yes.
time that it afforded me, I have done drop-offs and pickups at school. I have been able to help my kids with their homework. I've been able to have more engaged conversations with all of them. Every single one of them has done multiple trips out with me into the field, looking at projects and meeting other contractors. I've taught Sam how when you meet them, you shake their hand, you say, my name is Sam, what's your name? And teaching him the etiquette of business. So yeah, not in a billion years would I go back. They can all go F themselves. I don't care if the place flushes down the toilet.
Mm.
And the cool thing was literally in the first 6 weeks, I've had the biggest win in my career ever. And that was a tenant with a school shut down. Within 17 days, we had a new operator, retention of 95% of the kids, saved all 12 teachers' jobs. They're up and operational as of Monday. And the impact that made on 80 kids' families 80 kids' families makes the money that I was paid for my job and the nuisance and nonsense of corporate America that was completely insignificant.
Yeah, I really and that's what I really took from Dion's. Just that 8 minutes was just so powerful. We'll have to put a link below. But having the choice, because again, we're both relatively young, right? We're midlife, right? 40. Well, how old are you, Matt? 40,
46.
46.
Feel older every
Dion,
day.
you're
54, 53. He'll be 54
50.
soon.
Yeah, so we're all within 8 years of each other or so, and we still got a lot left in the tank. But being able to choose how we spend that is
true.
so much better.
So true.
So much better.
So true.
So Dion, when I go back to this idea of life in your time, I want you to go back and highlight for this channel, what does that mean? So again, we already know that you had 5 hours, you were exhausted, you really can't do anything meaningful. Just give us a taste of that first year after being out. What did you do with those 19 hours? What does a day or a week look like for Dion now?
So, I mean, I like to make jokes and say I take naps all the time. And really what it is I don't have that sleep pattern that most people have where you sleep 8 hours at night. I sleep when I feel like sleeping. And I might feel like it for 2 to 4 hours. I mean, it might be in the middle of the night. It might be in the afternoon. So I get the same 8 hours. They're just not all in a row. And I wake up when my body is ready. Like there's, I don't know if Matt, with your kids, you probably don't get that experience. You still get
Not
punched
quite.
in the face at 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
right? Which is great. Enjoy those years, right? Because
Absolutely.
enjoy.
Having a blast. Yeah.
that's actually another one of the reasons we're going to talk about in a video today about that, about enjoying those years with your kids. But imagine if you could wake up when you're awake. I
Yeah.
mean, how many times do you actually feel awake if you're working a job, commuting to work, handling everything that life, because life has a bunch of stuff you have to do just to have life, cleaning the house, your chores, your working out, or whatever, that just takes our energy to where you're never exhausted. You can choose to do anything. So I have paddle boards where I'm at. I spent a couple of months in Portugal with my brother, and this is what I really learned there. It was have one thing to do every day, like plan one thing for each day. And then the rest of the day is whatever happens that day.
Yep.
And so I never feel like a day was wasted because I planned them out in advance. But I never feel like a day was, I have to do all of these things for someone else.
Correct.
And we talk about that time freedom. It's, if anybody can remember back to when you were a kid, you have the 5 years, 3 to 5 years before you start school, where all you really have to do is learn how to walk and talk. Right? If you can do this, you're cognitive enough to go to school. Then you have the school year, spring break, summer vacation. Every time you start a summer vacation, it feels like forever. Until you're about 12 or 13 and you realize 3 months goes by real quick and you're back in school. And then you go from school to work and you get your 2 weeks vacation. It's like you start a weekend that never ends. And I don't know if Matt, if you're feeling this yet or not, but I was off balance. It was like I went off a cliff.
Yep.
And it's just every time before was, okay, I get to relax and goof off now for a period of time. And this is like a life sentence. You have a life sentence of do whatever you want. That's the time in your life that matters to me.
One of my best friends is an attorney, and
Yeah.
I was literally like, "Hey, what's this?" I was like, "Let's do lunch," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a court case today." I go, "Where?" And he goes, tells me where, and I was like, "I'm there." I went and I watched my buddy in court as an attorney do his thing.
Mm.
So
Awesome.
much fun. I could never in a billion years have done that. Not in a billion years. So worth it.
And then at the end of the day, folks, what the three of us are hopefully living examples, as is Anna Kelly and many others on this channel. You can all get here. I want you to believe it's possible. I didn't say it was easy. I never promised easy, but I promised possible.
Yep.
I want you to think of it as seasons, just like there is winter, there is a summer. You can choose how to do it, whether you want to do one long sprint like Olivia and I, or if you want to take mini vacations like Coach Carson. It's all out there and possible. We're going to hit this topic a couple of different ways just to make sure everybody catches it. But before we do, Matt, where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram. Content's coming. I got free time.
There you go. And Dion, where can they find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do my live streams every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and they last as long as the questions do.
It's
That
true.
is amazing.